Hello, my sober lovelies. Before we dive in, I'm really excited to announce my group coaching program for women is live, and you can join now. So excited for this because let's be real here. Quitting drinking isn't just about saying no to the glass of wine or booze. It's about what comes after. All the fear, the boredom, the late night anxiety, and the stories you've been telling yourself for years. And that's where my Rewired Sober group coaching program for women comes in. It's only $247. I'm being totally transparent on the price. It's for 3 months, and you'll learn how to shift your mindset, build habits that actually stick, and question the core beliefs that have been keeping you stuck, and find healthier ways to deal with that loneliness and that now what feeling. The best part is you don't have to do it alone. We'll have live group coaching sessions weekly, and there'll be a bunch of women walking through it with you. It's not another cookie cutter sobriety program for mommy vloggers. It's neuroscience meets real life, and it's designed for women to help you not just stay sober, but actually feel good living sober. You can join anytime, and I'd love to see you on the inside. So start today, get instant access. The link's in the show notes. Hey there, and welcome to You've Been Selected. I'm your host, Kate Vitella, and something tells me you didn't just stumble across this podcast by accident. Maybe, just maybe, you've been called here, like selected by the universe for something more. So let's get started. Welcome back. Today, I am so excited to bring on to the show the amazing Jessica Landon. She is one of my good friends. Jessica is a writer, an actress, and a comedian. But she's also a powerhouse in the recovery world with long-term sobriety and an impressive list of accomplishments. Jessica has been a TEDx speaker. She's a heart math coach specializing in resilience, and she's one of the original founders of the Sober Mom Squad. In fact, that's how I met her, and we bonded instantly over our spiritual connection and our passion for recovery. I just couldn't think of a better person to be my spiritual running buddy and counterpart in projects we're launching in the future. Jessica now works on the impactful project Fight Addiction Now, which has grown into a thriving Facebook community with over 1 million followers. She also brings an extensive list of experience in running and working in addiction treatment centers across California. That's been really helpful in giving me some context for the background of the treatment world. Her dedication to helping others navigate recovery and finding healing is so incredibly inspiring to me. So this conversation really dives deep into her story, her work, and her insights into recovery, resilience, and community. The only caveat I'm going to offer here is we are both recovering from head colds and COVID, so there's a touch of brain fog, but otherwise, let's get started. Okay, welcome to the show, Jessica. Hello.
Hi.
Happy Soberversary. I am
Thank you.
so excited to be here with you on your exact sober date.
January 3rd.
That's
it.
crazy.
I know, 11 years ago, just to think. That is crazy to think, wow, 11 years ago, this day, I was waking up in the hospital. No, not even conscious yet. But yeah, just in that state, just I can't believe how far I've come. Nearly dead, like possibly not going to make it, literally. Like, the day I came to, which was like probably 6 days from now, I overheard my dad say to my granddad, well, it looks like she's going to make it. And I just remember thinking, what?
Wow.
like, how did this happen? How did I get here again? And it wasn't like all of a sudden I was like, I'm done because I remember, no, the pain, yeah, the pain I think made me feel like, okay, I feel like I finally, something clicked where I associated the pain with vodka instead of the pleasure. It's like it eclipsed the pleasure finally
Yeah.
associated with drinking. It's like the pain became so great that it overrided all the pleasure and the great memories and everything, that is like finally the switch was flipped. And I was like, okay. And it just took, I had a high tolerance to pain, and I just kept going. And, like we all do, with the explosions going off behind us and you're just running. And then finally I couldn't run anymore. I couldn't walk. I had to learn how to walk again. And that stayed fresh for a long time. And that was really helpful because it took so much effort to get well that I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, I can't just jump out of the bed and go do what I did. I have to work really hard just to get strong and healthy enough to, leave this hospital. And that, of course, helped allow time for my brain to heal and start thinking more clearly. And then as time went on and more effort, my parents, I begged to go back with my parents because I had just kept running from treatment centers. That wasn't going to get me sober. I was scared to do that
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah.
I begged to go back with my parents, and they nursed me back to health. And it was starting over, and I was like in my 30s, 32, I think. Starting over, like learning how to take care of myself, getting a job, like a get well job, like all the things. And then, 6 months, a year, there were still periods of feeling like I was white knuckling it. I remember like in around 6 months, but then that's when I was like, I knew I couldn't go back because, again, the pain was like fresh. I was like, no way can I do that. But I don't know how to live sober. And that's when my spiritual journey began because I was so desperate. I just started, and I didn't really have a good foundation of, any type of religion. I didn't grow up going to church. So I always questioned people that were just like such God fanatics in AA. It was like, how is that so easy for you? I question everything. I don't trust anything. So I literally treated it like an psychosomatic experiment. Like, let's just see. I'll just get on my knees every morning and pray, and let's just see what happens. And I asked God, whatever you prefer to call it, source, for signs, signals, confirmation, and guidance. That's what I asked for. And it was irrefutable, Kate.
Wow.
Irrefutable. Like I have goosebumps just thinking about it. It proved to me there is something there carrying all of us, that is talking to us all the time, but we don't stop to open our eyes and see it because we're so busy lifing that we don't like stop and say, show me a sign, that like, I just want something. And all of a sudden these synchronicities and all of these like serendipitous events and people that were like completely aligned with something greater than themselves came into my life. And it was just like, okay, something's working here and showing me that there is something with me all the time. And that was like so confirming. And that is what carried me through to today. Like really just that alone. A community is obviously like, I mean, that's kind of how you get, because God speaks through people, right? And uses people to, um, give messages and teach us things and be our mentors. And that's all spiritual. That's a laboratory for the Holy Spirit. I think relationships are laboratories for the Holy Spirit. But when it has come time where I couldn't get to meetings, it's like what carried me through was just knowing that He's with me. That whatever that is, source of all things, that creator is with me. And I can feel it now. I'm really confident about that now, whereas I wasn't ever before. And so I think doubting, having that spiritual vacuum, that void, I don't know how people do it without having that confidence that there is something with you and everything is happening for you, not to you.
Yes.
Everything is happening for your greater good, for the greater good, because He's giving you signs that this is the journey. This is the hero's journey. You're on it. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And again, I would ask that, is this happening Like, what do I do here? And there would always be signs that that's exactly how it's supposed to be. And man, that gives you so much strength to get through anything because
Yeah.
not to question it. Like, oh, this is okay. This is happening for me. It gives you a lot of grit.
Yeah. So it sounds like in the beginning, this, I don't know, I don't want to call it spiritual awakening, but, coming to awareness of a greater intelligence, orchestrating the universe and maybe even aware of your life and wanting to co-create with you a better way. Um, that sort of sounds like, the light switch time in your life. And it sounds like you started going to AA in the beginning of your recovery.
Oh yeah, AA has always been I always was in and out of meetings, but I always knew that that was eventually going to get me sober. I don't know, I never questioned whether AA was working. It was always, me and my inherent resistance to what they were preaching, which I believe now is like, oh my gosh, it was everyone, every step of the way was right. I just wasn't ready to hear it till
Yeah.
later. But I love AA. I think it's saving so many lives, and there's really God in those rooms. He works through those people, and I think the message is divinely inspired and all the steps are divinely inspired. I think where, of course, it's because it's a community of human beings, it can get perverted and go down weird. There can be weird stuff, thumpers. There can be,
Yeah,
all
for
kinds of
sure.
stuff goes on and within, communities where there's human beings. But the meetings that I have frequented and that I still sometimes go to in LA, I love and feel like you know, that's home, that's where I was born, really, reborn.
Yeah, I always say when it comes to recovery, I was classically trained in the rooms of AA.
Mm,
Sort of like
that's brilliant.
if I was trained in how to read an instrument or read music notes or, that sort of thing, that gave me the foundation for at least the first 2.5 years of
Yes.
going to a meeting every day, if not multiple meetings, before the world shut down because I got sober later than you. But yeah, that foundation. And I love that you said you feel like God's in those rooms or whatever you want to call it, whatever source or higher power or, intelligence guiding the universe. It
Yeah.
really is. And you can feel it when you get into the rooms and you get into the lives of people in recovery. And
Hmm.
oh, that's really cool. That's part of the reason why when I first met you, I feel like we connected on that level is that we had been through a classic training of recovery, despite the noise that is out on the, social media and around, and there's so many great avenues for recovery, but when you meet someone who comes from the same foundation.
Totally.
Yeah. And I'm trying to kind of piece together your timeline. You got sober 11 years ago. And, we were talking the other day and I was like, we have to hit record because this is like a perfect time to talk about in an episode because I don't have a lot of people in my life that have this much sober time. 11 years is considered long-term sobriety. And I only have a handful of people that I know that can speak to this. So we were talking about the different levels of sobriety and levels of change you've gone through over the years. From my experience at about 7 years sober, the only real benchmark I can think of is that, like, around the 2-year mark, I remember thinking I knew everything and that I was like,
Yes. Right.
recovery guru.
Yeah. And there's a sense of because you're so immersed and you're like
Yes.
reading everything that
Yes.
it does wake up all these different parts of the brain. And you do feel like you're kind of like a monk, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because you're really, really, really in the trenches of all of it, like,
Yeah.
and absorbing all of it at once. I still feel like my 2 to 4 year mark, maybe over a period of time, I was like connected, man.
You
I
were the
was
queen.
walking around, yeah, like like a cross, like just totally straight up centered with, the light above. Like I just felt, and I was on my knees for like 30 minutes every morning. And I was like, everything was a miracle that around me. And it's still like when I get back into that zone, I can get there. But like those years, I don't know, I have really, because I was so just on fire with it, because you're like, this is a new life I never have had before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
can identify with that too, going through phases where I felt really on fire for the message of recovery. Similar to like how some people say they feel on fire for God. I mean, I
yeah,
felt like it was all one.
right.
But
Me too.
yeah, when I was more into the messaging, I feel like I'll always be because of my line of work. But
Hmm.
what about going forward when we were talking about the curveballs that come up in your life and just how you sort of drift away and then come back to it?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good segue into how, like we kind of touched on last night about how healing is not linear. There's definitely phases because let's face it, you're still an evolving human being. At the end of the day, you're going to life is going to throw you curveballs, and sometimes it's going to hit you when you're not most centered and you
Yeah,
get knocked off.
yeah,
And you're just really, really lucky if you've got the new neural pathways, that new habits that where you don't go back to drinking because you have all those other safety nets in place. Thank
mhm,
God. Like I had everything in place because when you get knocked off your center, because like, early trenches of motherhood, my son's 5 now, but he's gone through the last couple years, really serious health issues, was diagnosed with PANS, pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric syndrome. And it was very like just some days were traumatizing and heart-wrenching and a lot of crying, a lot of, the relationship gets extremely strained. It's like an 85% with parents of kids with PANS. It's like a 86% divorce rate because it's so hard to handle and parents handle it in different ways. So yeah, when I would, and I happen to not be like in my best, most centered and aligned with my higher self and God state in
yeah,
those times where I get thrown off. So I'm just fortunate that everything else, all the other habits and things were in place to hold me because it is hard. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is like starting over. This is like a new sobriety. This is a totally new lessons in sobriety where I'm a different version of myself that has to relearn how to live, relearn how to be, relearn how to not be reactive and impulsive as a parent. Like I didn't realize I had all these unhealed parts of my inner child inside of me that I thought that I healed, as a single person in my early sobriety. And then you have a child and it's like a reflection of all the things that are unhealed still. I had to get into therapy and just learn how to be like patient with myself, patient with my child, with this neurological stuff going on. And it is a whole new sobriety, early motherhood, the stress of being a new mom and new birth, new identity crisis. Who am I? It's all new. And I'm sure the same someone might say that goes through death in sobriety. It's like you have all of these things you have to relearn how to be and handle and cope with.
yeah. I think that's a good point. I'm glad you brought up that we were talking about it's kind of thrown around, right? That old trope of, healing isn't linear. We say that, but I think a lot of us think about healing as the early days, and we
Yeah.
forget that it's never linear forever and ever and ever, right? Like, even if you have a significant amount of sober time, you're just going to be coming into a new hurdle, a new season, a new phase. And I completely understand that having gone through grief last year, there's unexplored parts of yourself where you're like, wow, this is a new level of what it is. And I think that is to be human, right? To constantly peel back the layers. But it's not something we talk about very often in people that are, quote, recovered or that, you've kind of like crossed those benchmarks where people don't
Mhm.
see you as a broken human anymore.
Right. Right. And like you said, unexplored parts of yourself. It's like you're unearthing all of this new stuff and that is perpetual. There is no ending to that. Everybody goes through phases. And like you said, something that made me envision like a butterfly, a caterpillar turning into a butterfly several times. It doesn't just happen in early sobriety.
Yeah.
It's like never ending evolution of your life. And everybody's on a different part of but you never get to the mountaintop. Oprah, like, Jay Shetty, these people
Yeah.
they're not they might be at a different place in their journey. They might have experienced different things than you, but it's not like there's some sort of end place that everyone arrives to. So yeah, it's very humbling. You're a student forever. You're an empty rice bowl forever. You want to be, right? It's the only way people become wise is like they're constantly emptying that bowl to like pour in and be open-minded enough to accept new information. So yeah, it's been quite the journey, and I'm sure the next 10 years will be more, exploring all of those places in me that might not be fully healed, new experiences that I've never had before that might throw me off my center. But it's never just one thing in recovery that needs to be strong, right? Because otherwise that one thing could crack. And it's like there's so many different areas in my life that have to be like safety nets to the other. So that say like my spiritual life for some reason breaks down because I start doubting because something really painful happens to me. Well, my habits and like, working at self-care needs to be really strong. And then my community needs to be really strong or connection to people that are in recovery. It's like you have all of these different things that you hope prevent you from actually getting to a place of like, okay, my only other option is to
Yeah.
like destroy myself. Like you never want to get to that. And it's so crazy to think that you and I, that was our go-to.
Yeah.
Anytime we felt something like, okay, well, the only thing to do here now is to destroy myself
Yes.
to
Yeah.
not feel this.
And we talked about how much damage we caused with just alcohol alone, that we weren't mixing all these other drugs and all these other creative ideas. I mean, maybe had we known, we would have been smarter, better drunks. But I'm constantly impressed that I'm still alive. And when I look at your story from, what I know of it, it is a miracle that you're alive.
Yeah.
Like, if we started a company, it would be called like, I can't believe we're alive.
Yeah. I know. And it's a miracle to like kids these days because drugs are so prevalent. Like they think it's just unbelievable that you're capable of doing that just with alcohol and to like shut down all your organs with just alcohol, to like be, 80 pounds with an infection and just dying and drinking yourself to death. Like that like happens in old because today that's just a little like like way more rare.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of it when I look back on myself, I think of it as like slowly killing myself. I kept being surprised that I would wake up. I kept being surprised that I got through it. And I'd lost any will I didn't have a lot of hope in the end. Um, but I don't want to go back to the dirty early days too much because we're
Right.
going to celebrate your progress today. So when you fell into those pitfalls, or Tuesday, you know, life gets lifey,
Yeah.
then how did you kind of pull yourself up out of that? And you have mentioned like your network and your sort of like your safety net and recovery is multifaceted, multi-layered. And I love that. I love the envision of like a spider web and like you have all these stopgaps. So
Yes.
there's no single point of failure. Like my husband would say, like a military strategy where there's no single point of failure. If this breaks down, then you have this, then you have that, then you have,
Yes.
but
I love that analogy. Yeah.
yeah, there's no one person in your life that can save you. There's multiple people that bring multiple components to the table. And I think if, you're putting together some kind of recovery model, it has to be with multiple stopgaps and multiple layers. And,
Yep.
and those are all sort of individual that we build as time goes on. We build what
Yeah.
resonates with us.
Yes.
But after that little rant I just went on, what do you think it was for you that kind of helped you get through your most recent tough times?
I think Matt and I were both really brought to our knees because he suffered. He really broke down and went sideways for a while there. I felt like a single parent. Like, I have to admit, I was in survival mode for a little while. And just like, if I can just get through today,
Yeah.
I'll survive today. And that's like all I could see in the future. For a little while, it was that way. But, with that comes the miracle of, oh, yeah, I need to get on my knees again. I need to start opening up to God again. Wait a minute. It's been a minute that I've had full trust in him. And so when, Matt and I became both very like, okay, we're going to start pray. We would literally pray together every single night. And that really helped turn things around. Then we both, started getting our own kind of therapy, and we started Zoom meetings again. Like, it was like a slow rebuild, but it always starts with, whoa, I got to get on my knees. I'm in survival mode again. And then every time I always ask for signs and signals, because that's just my thing. That's how I communicate with this. Like, is this all happening for me? Because it really
Mhm.
feels not like it could kill me. And then when I get that confirmation that, yes, this is part of your journey, this is it, it's your healing, you're going through something that's meant to happen exactly the way it is. And I get that confirmation, it's like all I need. And I always think, well, how did I suffer for like a month without remembering that this is what I have to have. This is what I need. This is my way. It's the only way for me to feel, you know, safe and healed, and like I can handle the things that are thrown at me. And so, yeah, I'm always reminded, oh my gosh, how did I go this long without remembering that this was all I needed? So it's like slowly, that starts, and then that leads me to like the self-care things that I need to start doing. And then we're like, wow, we got through that. Can you believe it? And we're not divorced and we're like, all alive, all fine. We got through it. And yeah, so it's just like everything sort of, one thing leads to the next with rebuilding and kind of getting my groundings again.
I love that you mentioned sort of like almost catching yourself sleepwalking through it and
Yes. Good wording.
realizing that, like, oh, I need to be more awake and more conscious of my higher power and tap into my resources. And yeah, it's almost like you caught yourself suffering and realize, like, oh, there's a different way here. Um, and that's so cool.
And part of me feels like in moments like that when life gets really hard that we kind of default to this societal, like, I feel like everybody's kind of asleep at the wheel
Yeah.
at times, like in like the masses. That's why I feel so blessed to be brought to my knees and find another way, because so much I think of sobriety and recovery is not so much a learning, but an unlearning. It's like an unlearning of what society has taught us to get through, like to be. Like, it's almost like recovery and the wisdom and all of the everything I know is in here already. And I just have to like tap into it and unlearn everything that I have on the worldly level and get to that like heavenly, fourth dimension. It's like I can tap into that knowing with a capital K. I can place my hand on my heart and get the intuitive guidance of my heart that I feel is connected to, you know, it's really an unlearning, I feel like, in those times when, it's most painful, because it's not out there except in the people that of course have had these experiences in AA and wherever you find your community, your people. that you can learn from, that unlearning, that peeling away, Do you know, does that make sense to you?
It does. It does. It took me a while to capture the true lesson in like turning inward, that it's not out there.
Yes.
And that also, it brings me back to that Kundalini saying, the mantra Sat Nam, truth is my identity. And
Mm.
and the unlearning of what we, our ego constructs. But that's just a lifelong thing. And when I hear you say, I always ask for signs, symbols, and confirmations, you know, I feel the same way. I kind of do that too. And then I beat myself up that I'm not spiritually awakened enough to just intuitively know. That I think, oh, I'm
Right.
such a human. I need a sign. I need letters. I need numbers on a microwave because I'm
Right.
so human. Oh yeah, P.S. I'm immortal, and that's just what I do. I get insecure. I get in my
Right.
head. I forget, and I'm like, yeah, I freaking need those letters on the microwave. God, okay, thank you. That now I'm good. I need to see
So
those angel numbers. Okay.
yeah, 1111. We go back to our humanness, right? And it feels so like stupid. Sometimes I'm like,
Yes.
why did I have to be so human?
Yes.
Damn it.
Yes. It's stupid.
Like, can't I just know I'm this like celestial, heavenly, like spirit that is eternal and infinite, and I have
Yes.
infinite power within me because I'm it tapped in, because I'm connected to the source of all things?
Doesn't everybody I know have the tattoo "Be still and know"? I mean, can't I just be still
Yeah.
and know?
What is it that you just got tattooed again? It's along these lines. Love, only love is real. That is one of my favorite.
Yes, I just
Because
got that
that
on
too
my
hits you hard, right? Because it always
sometimes.
hits me. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm like subscribing to all these fears in the world, and only love is real. What was I
Yes.
thinking?
Yes, and I have little sticky notes all over my little office, choose love over fear, because I will go down rabbit holes in my own head that are fear-based. Fear says this is going to happen, this could happen. It's all about you.com, ego. And love says, no, only love is real. Like, and so, yeah, I mean, we could talk about that for hours. I'm not an expert on the Course in Miracles, but it's just an inner knowing that I have and a reminder to return, to awake and return, and to drop in.
A return to love.
Yeah, that's so
That
good.
was one of my first books I ever really read along the spiritual path. Um, and what you said, oh, the sticky notes. I remember when I first moved back out to LA, when I was like, I think I was like a year and a half, 2 years sober. I would leave myself sticky notes everywhere because that was a reminder. That was so desperate to really have down what was working for me. And I would have my sticky notes, pray, like go get on your knees and pray. I would have the sticky note, only love is real, or whatever reminders I needed for that day. Look for the miracles today. You're a walking miracle. Like, um, just everything to be reminded of what was, real and what was really work. I didn't want to miss anything. I wanted to stay in the zone. I was so desperate to stay in that zone.
Yep. Yep. And I used to think Gabby Bernstein oversimplified a lot of that messaging and just made it like sort of, if you do this, then this will happen. Oh, wow, abracadabra. But
Right.
I get why she simplified it, why she does, at least I think I do, to, kind of break through some of that noise. And, something as simple as a sticky note makes a big difference for me. They're all over everywhere
Because
because we're human, right?
and it's a shift in perception. That's all it is. That's all we're
Yes.
looking for. It's a mind shift. And you want that. And sometimes because the world and because we have to be in the world, we don't have to be of the world, but we have to be in the world. We have to have those reminders to not think like the world does,
Yeah.
to think like along the lines of love, and the our higher self is not of this world. You don't have to, you can function in the world and know these things in your heart. And it helps to not be so affected by all the things that happen to you, to not take things so personal, because you kind of realize that we're all just spiritual beings. What is that? I love that saying. It's not A Course in Miracles. It's God, it's from Many Masters, Many Lives, which is another really good book. Um, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like you have to look at it like we're all just in these, this clothing of flesh, but we're all infinite creatures just learning from each other.
And that's not really something. What I've found is that you can teach to someone. I mean, I was trying to explain this to my husband, like, it's not a book I've read. It's not one guru I follow.
Right.
It's not one podcast. It's not teachings from somewhere. It's it's an inner knowing I've had to cultivate over time through many, many books and many, many days of meditation and many, many prayers and many, many contemplations of things. At least that's how it went for me, because when I went down, which I'm always on my own little spiritual journey, it's all about what comes to my inner knowing versus what someone can recite or teach me.
Exactly. What comes to your inner knowing? Because you have concocted your own genius in there. You've perceived all of these other teachings, and then you've made it it's kind of an art when you know what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
take it all in, and then your brain sort of perceives what is true and right and works. And then you try to bestow it, you try to give that gift and that message to somebody else that's newer than you, that needs or asking for advice. And then they take it in and they kind of mix it and mesh. And that's what all these different books are, is it's someone's creative play on other
Yeah.
people's teachings.
Yeah. And ultimately, I come to realize it's all saying the same thing. Um,
Yes,
if you
exactly.
really piecemeal it,
But just in their own creative
yes.
signature way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps to read multiple books from multiple sources when you're on a journey of trying to figure out what resonates for you,
Yes,
especially so you're not blindly following one person's,
exactly.
teachings. And so that's what's worked for me. Um, so I want to pivot for a minute here. When I first met you, you were one of the founding members of the Sober Mom Squad. And I wanted to kind of dive into what you're doing now.
Well, let's see. So Sober Mom Squad. Yeah, that was what year was that?
I feel like that was like 20. I met you, I think, in 2020 or 2019.
21. We kind of, yeah. Gosh, it was right when the world shut down. That's
Yes.
right. Because
Yes.
that was why the community was built. Because so many women and moms were suffering silently. We needed a community. It was the right time. It was a
Yeah.
right time. It was really fun to build that. I have really fond memories of just having that community, meeting you, like
Yeah.
special
So
people
many
across
people,
the world. It brought us together.
for sure. That
What an amazing thing.
that saved my life at the time. It was like exactly what I needed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The community of other women and to meet other people. I had never, branched out on the internet. Were you out loud sober before Sober Mom Squad? Were you like
Yeah.
recovering out loud on the internet?
Mm-hmm.
So you were like
Yeah.
one of the OGs.
I'll never forget on my 2 years, I posted a before and at like a transformation pic, and it went like viral. Like
Oh my gosh.
all these pages, the news pages, like took it and put it on, like, were, circulate. It was circulating the
Yeah.
internet. And so that's actually how I met Matthew, because he was like, can I use your transformation story on Fight Addiction Now? And so I was doing lots of, interviews and podcast interviews back then. And then I did Sober Mom Squad. Then I did a TED Talk on the science of humor and healing trauma and addiction. And then I started working in treatment and recovery, became a mom. I had written a book in 2018, I believe it was finished. But then, and I had just started pursuing agencies, and then I got pregnant, and then I had Callum, and I kind of, when we started Sober Mom Squad, I kind of put it all on hold with the assumption that I would at some point publish it. But then once I had Callum and he was around 2, 3 when I was contemplating publishing, I was like, you know, something doesn't feel right about putting this out in the world with a son that
Mhm.
could one day read it. And that's just me. I know that it could help people, but I'm also helping people physically and with my voice. And there was something really, I don't know, it just went against my motherly instinct to protect my son from my actions.
Yeah.
And it just felt scary to have it floating around knowing I have kids and I would have kids in the world. So and that's not to say I might not one day publish it, but for now it doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
But it felt really good. The process of it was
Yeah.
so cathartic. I recommend it to everyone. Write a book, whether it comes out in the world and gets published, doesn't matter. Write it because it
Yeah.
is so cathartic and good for your soul.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was a journey and felt really good getting that out because there was something very purging about it too. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's not in, I don't have to hold it all in anymore. It's like out on paper, but or on the computer. But yeah, so that process and then that's it. What am I doing now? I'm just sort of rolling with the punches and I'm working in treatment. I'm, momming. I'm all the things. Still, meetings, talking to you about coaching and all the things we could, potentially do in the future. And yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about fight addiction now, because I just kind of stumbled on it recently. So I'm curious, what is what is that?
So, kind of like Sober Mom Squad, Matthew built a community of people that it was a good time. It was needed. There weren't a lot of pages dedicated to sharing stories and providing resources and help and support and charity and all those things. So, he developed it, I think, in like 2016, 17. And then he built it up, or we started building it up together when we met. And yeah, so and then he would place people. So if anyone reached out and needed help, like he would help them, find the right place. And now it's just a community of people that, you know, now we're just using it as a place for people, literally just as a community
Mhm.
to find, each other.
And it's massive. I
It's
mean, that's
massive. It's got
yeah.
1,000,000 followers and yeah, and I would love to start doing, Matt's been saying for years like start doing lives they would love to have, a face and some, wisdom like we talking about addiction and where to go, like everything. And
Yeah.
so I would love for you to, come on with me and we could do lives on fight addiction now.
Yes. We've talked about that, about how we have we can hang in terms of having a wide spectrum of stories from, your white collar drunken nights to your rock bottom in the ditch drunken nights and all levels of consequences. And I feel like, especially having done the work in psychiatric nursing that I've
Yeah. Oh,
done, there isn't really a lot I haven't seen at this
yes.
point.
Yeah.
And I feel so comfortable in any group setting like that because I've been there myself and I've, walked through it with other people. No
And
matter
you're
what it is, it's
a chameleon too,
bring it.
in that adaptable sort of way. You're a chameleon. Yeah. I'm like that too, where I know my audience. I've just been in very different, like I was homeless for a long time and could totally get along with a group of homeless people and
So
hang
am
like,
I.
some old black guys that have been on the streets for years and then and a hooker that's got one tooth. Like I've been able to adjust in those groups, and like, and then hang with the celebrities. Like there's a wide range of, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel that. Well, I wanted to um, talk a little bit about the project that we are working on, and we're calling it The Shift for the members joining our container? What do you hope they get out of that when working with us?
I just think of how I was in the first like embryonic stages of recovery, 1, 2, 3 years. I would have loved a container of like we're talking about.
Yes.
Community of women, like-minded women, where we take you through all that we've been through, but in a short amount of time, but all those major pillars that are the most important. And I just think, God, I would have died to do something like that at that stage. And I want to share that. I want to be part of something that I can, and like of course miracles, like I said to you the other day, what you want to master, teach.
Yeah.
Something I'm so interested in, self-development, spiritual development, humor, this neuroscience of all of this. How does our biology mix? Like the spiritual meets the physical, like it does. And it's all the most fun thing to talk about ever.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with someone with your medical background, and the spiritual awakening that you've been kind of having and journey. I love that we can bring that to the table and teach each other and that whole collaboration. I think it's going to be magic.
Yeah. I love that. When it comes to talking about the group container, it's more about, for me, I have this deep feeling of like, gosh, I wish this would have been available when I was in early sobriety. That's
Totally.
all I can think of is everything I wish someone would have knowledge people imparted on me, the feeling of community in this sense, learning and exercises, journal prompts, growth exercises, being awakened to various levels of knowledge. I mean, all of it is exactly what I would have wanted in early recovery. And so I'm excited to bring to the table, my knowledge of addiction science, as well as, of course, the things like neuroplasticity and talking about, our biochemistry, but also bring to the table my experiences on my spiritual journey and personal development and how I've learn to overcome my own limiting beliefs and fears and cognitive biases and merge that together with your knowledge. And so we can bring that collectively to a group. I'm excited about that. And I think something magical happens when a group of women get together.
It's true. I think you're absolutely right. Something magical happens that just gave me the goosebumps. I think the Holy Spirit is part of that. Something
You can't see me. Thank God you can't see me because I don't have a bra on and I'm in. This is the homeless version of me. But I'm making little woo-woo gestures with my hands. So I'm really excited. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about kind of the years as a high level. I'm sure we'll do lots of talking about not only your story, but all the things, because I don't imagine this will be the only time you're on here. But I wanted to get you on your soberversary and have my audience hear your voice and get to know you, because I look forward to working with you.
I look forward to working with you too. I feel honored to work with you because I just have always thought that you were a vessel of love, knowledge, stupidity, all the things.
A vessel of teeth.
About teeth. Yes, look, I'm missing one. Well, thank God we're not on camera, but that's what I gotta put in. But yeah, no, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful we our paths sort of reconnected and came together because we are going to create magic.
Yeah, I'm excited. So more to come on that. But thank you, Jessica, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. You can find me on my website at katevitella.com. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Kate Vitella. I would love to hear from you. Any feedback or questions, shoot me a note. So until next time, peace within and bullshit out.